Founded in 1850, the University of Sydney was Australia's first university, and it also holds Australia's oldest university museum, the Nicholson Museum. The Nicholson Museum has secured at its main quadrangle for more than 150 years. However, it will be its last year. By mid-2020, it will combine with the other two on-campus museums, the McLean Museum and the Art Gallery, and move to a new location, the Church Green Museum. Among the 150-year history, Nicholson Museum has made significant contributions towards art, culture, archaeology, and education. In order to understand its history, it has to first understand the history of the University of Sydney and the man called Sir Charles Nicholson.
Nicholson was born in Yorkshire in northern England. He did a medical degree and came out to the colony of New South Wales. And so Nicholson rose through the ranks of colonial Sydney very fast, becoming a successful entrepreneur, a successful businessman, successful politician. And in 1850, he banded together with some other successful gentlemen and co-founded the University of Sydney.
In the late 1850s, Nicholson travelled back to the UK through Egypt and through Italy. During this grand tour, he visited archaeological sites and purchased antiquities from the market, which form the core collection of the Nicholson Museum today. The story of the Nicholson is also very particular to the Australia's colonial history 150 years ago.
In those days, Western civilization was not present. It was a country with no history. Of course, we know that's not true because we know a great deal more about the Aboriginal people. So for him, he imported a history in the form of these artefacts. And for him, this was a way of transplanting the British Empire, transplanting the roots of Western civilization through the means of these objects.
Just inside this area, there are more than 30,000 objects spanning over 3,000 years of human history. They are displayed in 3 rooms and 3 galleries based on the exhibition theme.
The gallery we're in here is a temporary exhibition gallery, and at the moment the exhibition is an exhibition called Alpha to Omega, Tales of Transformation. And this was done by my predecessor, Michael Turner. I'm looking at physical transformations in ancient Greece, in the classical world. The Nicholson Museum is the largest collection of antiquities anywhere in the Southern Hemisphere. We've got 30,000 objects from Egypt, Greece, Rome, Cyprus and the Middle East. I mean, you look at a museum collection and it's like looking through one of those kaleidoscopes where you turn the tube and it brings into focus a whole range of different shapes and different colours. The way you look at the collection, the way you twist the questions, the way you look at the different imagery changes the sorts of things you're going to see.
The Nicholson Museum has attracted more than 100,000 visitors around the world every year, and most of them were coming for the mummy collection, which includes 3 completed Egyptian mummies and 3 Egyptian coffins. Among the collection, the most iconic is the male coffin of Prince Patriarchika, since every detail on the coffin is to accentuate the death magic to help Patriarchika born again in the afterlife.
Now, if you look at the largest figure on the front of that coffin, what you'll see is an image of a figure with the head of a ram and the wings of an eagle. And that is the most powerful god in the Egyptian pantheon, the god called Amun-Ra, the sun god. This particular image of Amun-Ra is done at the moment of dawn. And that moment of dawn, where the sun gets born in the east every single day, is the chief metaphor for being born again in the afterlife.
The mummy collection has not only bring meanings to the Nicholson Museum, but also to Australia's archaeology history as a whole.
I was very interested in the stories of these individuals, and so back in the 1990s initiated a project to undertake scientific analysis of the mummies, which involved non-destructive CT scanning, X-rays, analysis of the fabrics, the textile wrappings. The museum is now currently undertaking a fresh look at the mummies, and of course with the advent of new CT scanning techniques and additional applications of scientific analysis.
This coffin was thought to be empty, or at least it had been described as being empty in a 1940s catalogue. But actually that coffin contains a whole mixture of debris, of bones and bandages and beads all mashed up together. Imagine picking up this coffin and shaking it about like a cocktail shaker, and you can start to imagine what it was like when we took off that lid in June 2017. And the reason why it's all mixed up is because the mummy inside that coffin had been robbed, and probably robbed again and again on successive occasions.
The Nicholson Museum has been fantastic as a centre, particularly for Australian archaeology and also for Australian Roman and Greek and Egyptian history. And I think what it does is that it's very important sometimes. It's easy to sort of work on material and on words and texts, etc. But to actually have some of the artefact is really, really important, because remember, the only people who wrote things were the elites. So in some respects, if you think about arts and social sciences, which is the sort of story of humanity, well, here we have within the museum, in some respects, the physical representation of that humanity.